Stellar Blade controversy continues to take interesting turns, and if you recall, a couple of weeks ago there was the articles that were coming out in anticipation of the release of the game and several other releases that would end up following, that Stellar Blade puts Eve in some incredibly stupid sexy outfits that hurt the game's story. Well, if the game's story ends up getting hurt by costumes, how strong is the story to begin with? But despite the forced sex appeal, well, that kind of sounds weird. I actually love her detailed design, and yeah, her detailed design, which has basically carried the game, because now that people have got their hands on it, the characters are wafer thin, the plot is laughable, but the gameplay seems fun. That's what a lot of people's takeaway is, outside of the simps that are like, well, I actually like the characters. It's like, oh, cool. Go ahead and point out a couple of unique characteristics, okay, that are not simply aesthetic in regards to Eve or her companions or the male companion. No, nobody even remembers that the dude's name is Adam and he's a complete and total throwaway cardboard cutout. Yeah, man, nobody would remember this game. Nobody would even give it a second look if it wasn't for Eve being the main character. If it wasn't for Eve looking like that, or even post-launch being changed to look like that, because that's where the controversy stuff starts to come in. And, well, attractive, busty female Asians, I mean, it's a popular genre for a reason, because blue-pilled simps in gaming love themselves some eye candy at the expense of an overall game. And that's what we ended up getting here. A generic Souls-like that ended up getting bolstered by an attractive protagonist. They would go ahead and sail their principles down the ocean just for some pixels. What do I mean by their principles? These are the same people that say, we want to get politics out of our gaming. We don't want any more woke stuff in our game. We're tired of studios meddling in order to simply try to turn a profit. It's like, okay, cool. So when you see day one censorship, when you see companies lying to you, you're just going to go ahead and forgive them for that just because they have busty Asians? Is that what we're going to be doing? Is that what we're doing? Those are your warriors. Those are your authentic voices. Shout out to Grums for putting out that free Stellar Blade petition. Okay, because reading through the petition, it has very little to do with Stellar Blade and more or less about talking censorship and false advertising in the industry. Just simply using Stellar Blade as an avatar to push that discussion, because standing up for Stellar Blade more so than the developers, than the company itself, doesn't behoove anybody's long-term aspirations. Stellar Blade studio head says outfit redesigns were intentional, not censorship. Okay, cool. So you just admitted to false advertising. Now you're trying to walk everything back. Why? Oh, right, because you secured the bag. We don't know anything about sales data, okay? We just know that the demo went to #1 because a free demo about a very controversial game, of course, was going to end up generating downloads. Big shock on that one, but when it comes to sales data, don't know. I would imagine it's probably good enough, especially for him to come forward and say, just because the costumes are vulgar doesn't necessarily mean they're good. No, okay, cool, because you have, I forget how many selectable, unlockable costumes that you have. Some of them are quite revealing. There's 3 of them right there in that Games Radar article right there, okay? A various disrobe, and some of them get even more scantily clad than that, including an up to the skin suit, which is basically a couple of artistic lines covering up some sensitive areas and very little else left to the imagination. That's not too vulgar. Just a couple of swimsuits that don't have cleavage coverings. Like, is that what you're trying to say is too vulgar when you basically have pasties and dental floss a couple of clicks away? Like, what are we doing here? You're lying to us. You're absolutely lying. Kim Hyeong-tae, CEO of Stellar Blade developer Shift Up, has dispelled censorship allegations regarding protagonist Eve's clothing. So you were willing to ride out this controversy for attention and for all of the controversial sales that would end up drumming up, only to turn your backs on fans afterwards. Fantastic stuff. Costume redesign that alerted a handful of heroines' original outfits, as seen in promotional materials, are the result of a day one patch that had always been intended as the final result. You lied. You are an admitted liar. Some Stellar Blade fans had taken these visual changes as evidence of publisher Sony wanting to censor Shift Up's original design by stifling its creativity, sparking online debates surrounding Eve's stupidly sexy attire and how it impacts the player's experience of the action game. Well, yeah, because it's not unlike Sony to go ahead and push their own politics over the well-being of other studios. It's been noted time and time again, so that was the logical conclusion here. Shift Up, in all of its pre-release marketing, was standing strong in the face of the calls for censorship. So when this ended up happening, it's like, did Sony make you do this? They were mum about the subject, and then all of a sudden in this Korean interview, oh no, we were always frauds. Cool. Turns out, nope. That's the work of the developer itself and had nothing to do with Sony. Fantastic stuff. This is why I was never too soft on Shift Up. Gave them the benefit of the doubt, but always maintained a position where if they were going to be behind this stuff, ultimately, if they were going to try to turn a blind eye or even tacitly cheer it on from the sidelines, they were going to face the wrath. And well, here we go. Here's confirmation. Whether or not you love or loathe Eve's not safe for work skin suit, Kim stresses that Shift Up didn't remove the extra hint of cleavage here or add tights there in an attempt to deprive gamers of anything but to provide stylish finishing touches to each ensemble. Again, if you wanted to make those changes, make another costume. It's really not that difficult. I don't think that just because the costumes are vulgar doesn't necessarily mean they're good. So this is something that was modified for quality. It's a weird way to characterize some of your not even most revealing costumes, not even the most vulgar costumes, the way that you would phrase that. But to say that they were changed for quality, when in reality, if you don't see the before and after, you wouldn't notice any change at all. As a result, there are parts where eroticism is lessened or emphasized. None of them have been emphasized by more revealing costumes. Like, that's just not the case. Now, this is our final product, and we want to show as the intended result. In short, Eve's outfits are fashion first and not sexy first. When your entire marketing strategy was around a sexy protagonist, then you want to change it to, no, she's more fashion forward in the post-apocalypse. Okay, cool. And then I just went to the source. It was all written in Korean, so of course, this could just end up being mistranslated due to technological limitations, so bear with me. They were talking about the necessity of the day one patch and the fact that, there were some changes that were always intended. Okay, so there is a costume that became a censorship issue through the day one patch. Is it intended? The interviewer asked the director. The end result, after the day one patch, the results were finally adjusted to deliver the users are in the day one patch. Let's see, rough translation. Or just before that, I don't think it's good the costumes should be unconditional. It's a modified part for quality. There's a part where eroticism is revealed or emphasized. It is the final product I want to show with the intended result. So you sold your game on one aspect and then you ended up delivering another. I don't know what the laws are like over in Korea. That's false advertising. However you want to chop it up. These sartorial choices weren't the only changes that came as Stellar Blade's day one patch, the addition of a new game plus. That's interesting that it needed to be patched in, giving players an incentive to stick around long after the credits roll. But yeah, that and continued censorship, which you could imagine is only going to continue to get worse, because that was always the thought, right? The game was sold on one specific aspect. It was marketed with the costumes as they were prior to the patch, and if you always intended them to be changed, why didn't you just run with the changed product? Because, you were trying to be disingenuous. You were trying to capitalize on a different aspect of the market, the type of people who would end up boycotting games that were the center of controversy, just like what happened with Hogwarts Legacy with Warner Brothers last year. And then Warner Brothers trying to capitalize on a different market, the more vocal market with Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League, seeing that didn't end up working out with them, ended up putting a chill in a lot of companies' spines throughout 2024. And Shift Up, seeing the success from last year, just decided, hey, controversy creates cash. And we have a unique opportunity here now, don't we? Because we'll go ahead. We're not going to change anything about the protagonist, but a big selling feature of her customization, we can go ahead and change that, not because of our integrity. No. We need to do that because of modesty reasons. We need to do that because we have a vision. It's not exactly a forthright or honest vision, but we definitely have one of those. So Shift Up, congratulations. You ended up torpedoing your reputation in the industry. Hopefully you secured that lucrative bag from Sony, because if you take a look at their future trajectory, it doesn't look like there's many of those bags out there left to secure. So With all of that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.